back to another episode of KotlinBytes. In this episode, we're going to be introducing the concept of a function. And to do so, we're going to convert both of our previous projects from the last episode into two separate functions. So, the first function is going to convert any value, well, more specifically, any integer, into the absolute value of that integer. And we'll call that function abs of. The second function is going to determine the stage of life given some integer age. And that's it. So let's start with a. At the bottom here, we're going to define a function. To define a function, just like our main function up here, we type fun, and then the name of the function, in this case abs of, then open parentheses, the name of the parameters that we want to provide. Technically, you're allowed to provide almost as many parameters as you want. I think there is a limit, but best practices are to stay under 7. Under 7 parameters is the best practice. Least amount of parameters, the better. In this case, we're only going to have one, so that's fine. And this is going to be called value. It's going to be of type integer. And then we're going to also return an integer. Okay, so what did I do here? Well, we started off with a fun keyword to identify this is going to be a function. We then named the function. We then wrapped all of our parameters by parentheses. If we want to add more parameters, we separate them by commas. And then we add a colon to define our return type. So all functions return a type. If you don't define a return type, nothing is going to be returned. And nothing in Kotlin is called a unit. Or in Java, it was called void. In Kotlin, it's called a unit, which is not equivalent, but similar to void. So because we are returning something, we need to explicitly define a return statement. So I'm going to return some value, for now just 0, and then the error goes away. So this is the anatomy of a basic function. You have keyword, the name, the parameters, the return type, and then the return statement here. Okay, now we've already worked on the logic of this function. We have it up here. We're actually just going to pull out this if statement, bring it down, paste it into there, and we need to just copy value to a. Okay, and that's it. So whatever value we provide to abs of, it's going to determine if it's positive. If it is positive, it's going to return it. If it's not positive, it's going to make it positive and then return it. And then up here, we can call the function abs of. Abs of, then provide the value a, and the absolute value of this function will then be returned to the variable abs of a, and then we're going to print it out. If we run this, nothing changes. Yeah, and of course, if this is positive, it's the same. On to the next function. We're going to create a function for stage of life. Same as before, we're going to create a function. But this time, I'm going to omit the return type and have Kotlin implicitly decide what the return type is going to be. To do so, we cannot use the brackets. We need to just provide this equal symbol. So we're going to have it equal to some value. You could just make this equal to some statement right here, like age times 2 or something. That's not what we want though. We want this up here. So I'm going to copy when. Notice how when is going to evaluate this expression and then return a value to stage of life. Likewise, when can evaluate an expression and return it to a function, just like this. So this is a slightly more complex function. However, you'll notice that it reduces the number of lines of code that we have to write. And I think it still makes a lot of sense. So we provide the age, and then when the age is between these values, newborn, etc., and then it returns the value. In this case, it's going to be a string, and it knows it's going to be a string. You could explicitly add it here, actually. and it'll work, but you don't need to. And everything else should remain the same. Just like that. Okay, this was an introduction to functions in Kotlin. Hopefully you guys learned something. Again, if you have any questions, add them below. Or if you have recommendations, add them below as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, you guys.